All right. I can't even pretend to want to have to run that from the top again. Hi, how are you? Yeah, just that's just a software fail right out of the top, just at the beginning. Maybe it got it out of its system. We don't know. It's Wednesday. Hi, how are you? It's the morning show. Hal Sparks Mornings, Mega Worldwide. Good to see you. Coffee? Are you having coffee? I hope you're having coffee or something equivalent, something warm. You know what I mean? It's that kind of morning. It's yes, lots going on. Thanks to everybody who came out to the show last night at the Whiskey. Lovely time. I gotta say, right out of the gate, I knew it was going to sound good when our like back of house and the monitor people were just firing on all cylinders. It's very hard at the Whiskey when you're swapping musicians and guitar players and singers and everybody wants a different mix in their head and all these kind of things. For those guys to keep up is amazing. It's bad enough when you do 3 bands in a row or 4 sometimes. When you've got artist after artist after artist coming up and wanting to that kind of a juggle, I kudos to the sound team at the Whiskey last night. Great stuff. And we opened with You Give Love a Bad Name. It's my first time singing that song in public since Johnny Million and I were in a band in high school, and we played it for our friends. I should be back up. Yeah, it should take a moment. Sorry if there's a delay and you guys coming around. Yeah. I'm afraid to open the page that checks on it for fear that it will... Hi, yes, Rip Portland, good to see you. Hello, South Carolina, you guys are next. Watching Nikki Haley, scary stuff. Yeah, don't worry about Nikki Haley. Yeah, no. Nikki Haley is doing effectively just, this is the kind of stuff where like people try to sell books and raise their queue by running for president. That's what she's doing. Here, if Nikki Haley was actually, I suppose, if she had actually democratic ideals, like, big D Democratic Party, and she ran as a woman in the party, but she'd have a shot. But no woman has a shot to be president via the Republican Party. Not going to happen. I mean, that's the end of it. And it's not, she could be far more qualified than anybody running. It doesn't matter. Because Republicans in general are not going to vote for a woman. They are not. And the idea that, like, how about this? I'll be the female version of Donald Trump isn't going to sway anybody either. So, you think I'm actually like, oh my God, what if she... No. Please. At some point, you have to assess and go, yeah, that's not even worth my time. That's not even worth the conversation. It's not happening. It won't happen. Will not happen. Not going to happen. End of story. Please, for fuck's sake, trust me on this. If I may, hi chat room, by the way. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, say hi to the chat room. Chat room, hi. How you guys doing? By the way, I'm wearing a jacket on the morning show because I was freezing. I flew in from LA this morning. I got up at butt in the morning after being up till 1:20 in the morning or so, doing the show last night. Slept a few hours, couple, and then ended up, for all practical purposes, being like comatose for about 3 hours, and then getting on a plane this morning. And interestingly enough, I flew out of Burbank, and Burbank is you walk out to the plane on the tarmac. Can I use that word? It sounds so impressive. Tarmac. On the concrete, and then I got in the plane and I flew here, and it inside, I would say they kept the heat on in the plane. It was very nice. Sometimes they make it a little colder because the heat makes people feel boxed in and they get nervous. So if you have a nervous flyer, they have a worse time of it. It's been bumpy air lately, so they tend to keep the planes colder in those situations. And they did not, which was good. because it was damn chilly. And it was also damn chilly when we landed. And I think the coldest part of the entire thing was the ride through the airport on the tram, which goes outside. And it was snowing here in Vegas yesterday, and it's still, burr, burr, burr. 47.9. Oh my God, we're getting 50 by the weekend. I don't think so, because I'm being shadow banned. Click the like, subscribe right away before they disappear me off the web. Is it working? Are they buying it? I'm trying. I'm trying to do the thing where you go, most people can't see my thing because the big tech is after me. That's a great way to drive up subscribers. I read that someplace. Yeah, I'll tell them. I'm being shadow banned. Please click the thumbs up and also subscribe. Otherwise, I will be taken to YouTube Gitmo. So anyways, great time last night. Barely any sleep, but I wanted to see you guys, so I flew back at butt in the morning. So as many technical problems as I've been having lately, they would have been worse had I tried to do it from LA. So there you go. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, look, a hype train. Look, it worked. It worked. So is it Yitmo? Yitmo sounds like another nickname that Kanye West gave himself. By the way, boy, did he drop off the fucking map right away. Huh? How about that? Yes, thank you. Free House Sparks. Stop oppressing the truth. Hashtag Free House Sparks. Hashtag say no to big tech. I want medium size, actually small and slim fit, because I'm I've got I'm this close to like full on abs. It's exciting. For the first time in a while. Never was an issue, but now I'm getting like, oh, this might be the real deal. So yes, hashtag Free House Sparks. Thank you. Too soon to talk about Bernie brats, Turks? No, not at all, Wes. It's fun watching them flip out, I suppose. Save Hal, like save Ferris, right? Love the jacket. Thank you very much. The kid does not have a chance. Also, as soon as Trump asked her not to run, she won't know. She knows her place. He already has bitched about it. She's not going anywhere. How tall is Hal? I'm 5'9". Thank you very much. I'm ever so slightly above average in so many ways. Hi there. So, but insofar as height, I am a grower, not a shower. I look smaller from far away. That I can't help with. So I'm not quite sure how to remedy that yet, but up close, especially very close, I look very tall. If I'm encompassing your entire field of vision, I look enormous. Like this close. So, hi. All right. I feel like I have to get straight to the show before it shuts down on me again. Philip Bittner will be joining us. Hopefully. It won't crash on me. I've pulled into big guns. Rob Glenn is going to help me troubleshoot tomorrow when we both have time and I don't have a morning show. We're going to get in here and tinker. He's going to virtually tinker, and I'm going to physically tinker. It's a lot of tinkering. We'll be tinkering in concert. Yes, I do have a vortex. It's more of a tractor beam. Science invented a tractor beam. We looked at that the other day. It's totally great. It's basically like a creating their own solar sail inversion and it's like a hug. It's not so much a tractor beam as a space hug, and I like that. All right, so let's look at stuff right now. Rachel Maddow is trending #1. Good for her. Hi, Rachel. We love Rachel. Why? Focusing on fashion. Oh, because she did the thing okay. The company with a market value of $55 billion fought the Federal Railroad Administration's push to upgrade the Civil War era brake system that remains widely used in U.S. trains and against stricter rules on the transport of hazardous materials. Yes. So, I love Rachel, but I covered that part already, and that is that's half a story, kids. Literally, I already dealt with this part. Like you guys watch me go through this piece of it. First of all, the idea that this is the same article was like they're only giving $25,000 to their. Okay, no, they aren't. That's a direct contribution to the Red Cross there and the shelters. They're doing other stuff too, and they're also responsible for the material cleanup after the fact as well. So, but I don't know that that's why people were jumping in there. So they're just in general. Rachel Maddow has more than one college degree. You don't even know how many degrees it takes to probably cook foods. It won't poison people. Sit the fuck down to work. That's funny. Love Rachel. Glad she's on Mondays. Oh, has a video of Rep. George Santos claiming he was a victim of attempted murder and under police protection. That's fun.
Congressman George Santos.
Let's check that out.
I'm going to talk about this story for the first time tonight. We do, for the first time, actually have something new to add to this story. Video that we have obtained exclusively in which Republican Congressman George Santos adds yet another astonishing claim to his big, long list of all the rest of them. We have obtained video in which Congressman George Santos says he is the victim of an attempted murder. An attempted murder that resulted in him being put under police protection. Because the murderer might come back for him after missing him the first time.
Yeah, that's the thing with murderers.
Also, he says in this video that someone stole his shoes.
Dear God, murder is one thing, but shoe abduction, I hope the FBI is involved. Where are the Capitol Police? We have two tiers of justice in this system, the justice system in this country. Those for murder and one for shoes. And the shoes aren't getting enough attention.
In the middle of Fifth Avenue.
Is it possible that Donald Trump shot them off of his feet and he only gained support? And that's how he won George Santos over. It's a little known story. It's like an old Western. Donald Trump shot George Santos's shoes off in the middle of Fifth Avenue. And and that's what made George Santos a believer.
In New York City. Specifically at the corner of 55th Street and 5th Avenue at 3 p.m., somebody took his shoes.
Well, again, if you're drunk in the middle of the day, take an Uber home. I know leaning up a building can look enticing. It's just a mistake. Last night, I actually saw a dude asleep against a lamppost coming from, I think, the Rainbow. Long-haired fellow, bless his heart, and literally just leaning against a lamppost like this. Like asleep, standing up, just like, I'll go to my car in a minute. I just gotta rest here. This is a tall hill. And I almost like woke him and checked on him, but I was like, if I do, he might go, huh, and then just fall.
Not the same people who were trying to murder him. Apparently that was separate, but who can say?
Yeah, right. How do you know? It's obviously a plot.
I'm going to talk about this story for the first time tonight.
Okay, so that's okay. So, and then Rachel says, "Why is this happening?" Chris Hayes' podcast being episode being irrepressible with Little Rock 9 member Mindy Jean Brown trick. Okay, yeah, there we go. Most of the Biden regime. Oh, Lauren Boebert. Most of the Biden regime has learned about governing from watching Rachel Maddow, and it really shows. Yeah, well, they are getting a lot done, and they are effective. I will say that for those of you that don't know, I filled in on Air America back in the day after Al Franken left to go run for office, and they had American mornings in the afternoon. They, in a replacement for his show, so I would come in and fill in for a few weeks, for like 2 weeks and change. Because I was filming at the time, and I was able to come out and do it. And Rachel's show, this was pre-MSNBC, was right after my show, and she would get in, like, she had a 2-hour show. I just had the 1-hour block, and she would come in like 4 hours before. Nobody else did this. Everybody just rolled in hot and did their show and went the fuck home. Rachel would come in 3 hours ahead of time. And she had already been prepping all morning. And then she would commandeer the copy machine. God damn it. And more than once, I stood behind Rachel Maddow waiting for her to finish printing things out so she could spread them all over the floor and organize her show. And it was I wasn't beyond a little bit of foot tapping. Hi, hello, may I? Thank you. It's like I'm on soon and you're on then, so I can't. There's only one printer. May I? And that's it's true story. Multiple times, Rachel. I see it. Secondly, I once beat her at a game of horse, playing basketball. And she played basketball in high school and college, I believe. And she's a tall drink of water. She's taller than I am. And I still beat her at basketball. There you have it. So, sure, she's a millionaire who only has to work 1 day a week. Fine. She's earned it. God bless her. I wish her all the best. That said, I kicked your sorry ass, Rachel, at a game of horse on a cruise ship, no less, on the roof of a cruise ship, where on the top deck of the cruise ship, where they had a basketball court, and God damn it, Rachel would make fun of me because of the I don't drink. And many of you know that if you watch Rachel when she first started out, occasionally she would mix a cocktail at the end of the show. It was like during this phase of the news where they're like, make our little hour personable. Do something a little almost morning show-ish at the end. You remember that? And she would make, she used to, I guess she used to bartend and all this stuff. So she's got a lot of alcoholic drinks memorized. She can mix a ton of shit, right? She on the fly. You give her, a Zambui milkshake or, a Tahiti tingle. We want a little umbrella in it. No, that's for tourists. She could whip that shit up in a heartbeat. I don't drink. I've never drank. I'm not going to drink. I have no interest in drinking. Feel free to drink. I will drive you home and drop you off. And that's it. I don't drink. Not interested. And so when we were on the boat, to get everybody to leave me the fuck alone about the fact that I wasn't drinking, which was one of the weird things. Like, since high school, I don't think anybody brought up the fact that I wasn't drinking alcohol more than on the Air America cruise. And they had these I don't know, tropical spritzer sodas they made there with a mint in it. They would put mint in it. It was just very light, not a lot of sugar. It was basically just sparkling water with a hint of a splash of something, and then this mint in it. And she kept calling it my spa water. Yeah, Rachel, yeah, I'll get her on here eventually. We'll make it happen. She'll have glasses and all. We're going to need a lot more subscribers. So if you want Rachel to come on the show, find 400,000 of your best friends and have them subscribe to the show. That said, Rachel used to make fun of me for not drinking and call my beverage that I grew to love on that boat spa water. And it still stings, Rachel. It still stings. But I will say, for the record, and because I hear people, especially people on the right criticizing her all the time. Rachel is many things. She's a complex human being, as we all are, hopefully. I'm not. Shh. But let me be abundantly clear. Rachel is genuine in her opinions and her beliefs and her knowledge. She is studied and she cares deeply about what she's talking about. That may be a duh moment for you guys, but there's always I think a concern that there might be a veneer between, who's the real person and blah, blah, blah. What you see is what you get. That's Rachel. She's absolutely on, she's not saying anything she's been told to say by someone else, and she's not puppeted by anybody. She says, and again, in the case of a news organization, Fox does this all the time. You don't tell them what to say. You hire people because you know what they're going to say if you have a slant. And that's what Fox does all the time. The illusion is that somehow Rachel would say this stuff, you know, and even if it wasn't true, because you can count on, you know, because that's what MSNBC was counting on when they hired her. That's not the case. She's smart enough and cares enough about what she's talking about to not bullshit her audience. And she's been terrific about it throughout. Just saying. Yeah. Just letting you know. And anyway, she's trending because Boebert's like,
Rachel Maddow.
Mark Pomerantz. I mean, she's killing it for just like one day a week. But anyways, we love Rachel and she's awesome. Real America. I believe in real America. Republicans. Joe Biden is out of touch with real America. Also Republicans, right. Look, everyone, I'm a lion rider. Real America. If you're an American, your heritage is either Native American, slave, refugee, colonizer, or immigrant. That's it. At some point, if you're an immigrant past when the country was no longer colonies, then you're a colonizer too. Right? I mean, can you say you're a vegan or a vegetarian or you don't believe in hunting or killing animals for food if you're eating off the carcass that someone else killed? If you think killing a carcass is wrong, like killing an animal and eating its carcass is wrong, obviously killing a carcass isn't wrong because it's already dead. That's the nature of being a carcass. Yeah, if you participate past that point, aren't you complicit? Like, aren't all immigrants past 1765? Wouldn't they be colonizers as well? All right. Also, are the Lakota Sioux colonizers for the land they took from the Pawnee? And are the Comanche colonizers for the land they took from in their war with the Mexicans? Is the Mexican language the language of colonization because it's Spanish? Are they, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, like I like these kind of things, and I think it's good to have perspective. But yeah, what a bunch of assholes with their stupid AR-15. I'm just, this is like that was a Bill Hicks joke. Remember his joke about crosses? You think if Jesus comes back, he's gonna want to see another fucking cross? It's like wearing a rifle pin, going up to Jackie Onassis, going, just thinking of John. Oh my God, Rihanna's performance was apparently satanic. She's dressed in red. So is Santa, fuckhead. Santa, Satan, Santa, Einhorn, Finkel. Like angels, do we know the story from the Bible when Satan fell from heaven and she brought down those fallen angels with them? Oh God. Jesus, get over yourself. And obviously that hand was the flapping tail of Satan. What in the world? The lunatics and the likes of Jim Jordan, Bobo, Sporkfoot, Green goes on about how are about to fafu and fuck around and find out when the subpoenas rain down from. I speak. This is yeah, it's just memes. She compares lazy, sorry white people to black people. What?
People I know. I know a ton of white people that are as lazy and sorry and probably worse than black people I know.
Well, at this point, why not drop the word probably? Fucking hell.
Did she?
Did she just say what I thought? Yes. Yes, you did. Holy shit. There is no bottom with these folks. And by the way, do you think I'm going to get upset about anything Marjorie Taylor Greene says as a single congressperson in the country who was dragging her own party down, making them look like assholes? Like, do your work, lady. Honest to God, if we couldn't have come up with a better way to sabotage the Republican Party if we'd invented her as a character and hired an actor to play that part. That said, she's so stupid and gross. It's hard to even get offended by what she says. You know what I mean? It's like when somebody who's really disgusting says they don't like you or think ill of you, you're like, whew, I'd be worried if you actually like me. Like if somebody like her came up and went, I'm a fan, be like, fuck me. Okay, I gotta reassess. I don't know. Shut it all down. Shut everything down. We're starting from scratch. Pile of shite. Yeah. Only 19% of Americans have a favorable view of Kevin McCarthy. Yeah, I'm one of them because I like what he's doing to wreck the Republican Party. I mean, I don't like him as a person, and I don't think he's an effective politician or quality human being. But I do think he's on mission, right? Am I supposed to give a shit at any point? Seriously, if you're just like wrecking the Republican Party, I'm like, I'm having a hard time not liking you. Yeah, it's a lot of like real, but you know who does a lot of real America? By the way, when I first scrolled past this, she was standing right, like, see if she moves over. She takes a step in a second. But I literally, as I was scrolling by, I thought that said karaoke behind her because she was standing in front of the L. And I was like, please let her be doing like a singing tour to sell her bullshit. Yeah, I was right about there. Also, the Huckabees. So Mike Huckabee is all about like Bubba America and that whole bullshit. And first of all, he's a former government employee, and his daughter's now a government employee. Has been for fucking 8 years now. So I don't get the whole like America doesn't like politicians, they're the worst in the world. Like, you are one. That's either your fault or shut the fuck up. Yeah. Fair tax, the GOP plan for 30% national sales tax explained. Oh yeah, that's not gonna happen. Again, so much of this shit you're like, dude, it's not. that's not happening. It's not happening. Like, I'm not even getting stressed about it. Flail all you want. Just dig your hole. This isn't even a matter of whether I say so or somebody in government or the fucking Supreme Court says it. The vast majority of Americans, as uneducated and stupid as everybody thinks they are, is going to go, yeah, you fucking, no. So people who have a private jet or can afford the shipping can buy shit in other countries, pay VAT tax there and get it reimbursed, like moor their boats in fucking the Cayman Islands, but just park them here all the time. Yeah, my yacht sits in Miami Harbor, but it's actually licensed in the Cayman, so I don't have to pay taxes on it. Like, it's just rich people would just buy everything either through an LLC or somewhere else, or talk about like, for all their freakouts about the Great Reset and you'll own nothing and be happy. Republicans do everything they can, and rich Republicans in particular, and libertarians do everything they can to not technically own anything they own. Look at Trump. Dude's in all these like rev sharing agreements and loans on top of loans. He doesn't own a thing, and apparently he's happy. No, he isn't. He's miserable, but you get the point. Okay. By the way, Biden boom. Big Biden boom. Big Biden boom. There's a lot of talk about real America. In fact, most Americans aren't as divided as the media and political extremes would like us to believe. So why are we so gridlocked? Because if it bleeds, it leads, and clickbait is the way, and branding is a disease. That's it. By the way, don't have a brand. Be legendary. That's all I'm telling you. That's having a brand is. I mean, first of all, even the word itself is kind of gross and offensive. It's nasty. It's like the idea, like branding your cattle. You're burning your mark into living things. That's like, it's just all that is psst, I own that. Psst, I own that. Psst, I own that. That's mine. Psst, like, it's a terrible analogy for, having a clear like vision that you present to your consumers or the public about who you are and what you do and what your company does and the shit you make. It's a really gross analogy. Legend is far better. You're welcome. Okay, Jenny Thomas. Justice Thomas voted to block the Jan 6 committee from obtaining. Yes, we know this. Anything in particular? Okay. Apparently, this is us every time Clarence Thomas is trending. That's our reaction. It's mine. I mean, clearly, I'm barely holding it together right now. I'm seething, I think is the word. Biden, have a good day with all your insurrectionist pals and all that undermining laws and democracy stuff. Thanks, you too, honey. Okay, yeah. Political gun laws after Bruin. Clarence Thomas can't read the framers' minds. Clarence Thomas is one of the greatest Supreme Court justices in the U.S. This Bridget Gabriel chick just constantly is like, Trump is the sexiest, strongest, most powerful man that's ever existed. Like, it's, I honest to God, I think it's a troll account. I think it's just meant to bait people out into the open. Georgia Senate passes bill to create statue honoring Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Okay, so that's why. Whatever. Okay. So are they gonna? Is Ginny gonna be clinging to his leg in the statue like Leia? We'll see. All right, East Palestine, Ohio. Again, we're talking about the explosion. The picture that we're seeing, a passenger photo while a plane flew near Palestine, Ohio. Chemical after the train derailed. Yes, this was not 2 hours ago. This was when it happened. Okay, there you go. I live 8 hours southwest of South Palestine, and our water is contaminated, tested over and over, filtered and boiled even, all full of sulfates. Only distillation removes it. Apparently, don't drink the water, y'all. Exactly. That's why you need a Brita filter, or they've got to tune, whoever's getting your local water has to tune up the water filtration system nearby. Norfolk Southern disaster, one of the many crises of accountability, crisis of elite impunity and corporate greed. We will be living with the fallout of Ohio's Chernobyl for generations. Okay, it is not Ohio's Chernobyl. Stop it. It's a genuine concern that needs a specific kind of cleanup. It is not a dead zone. What happened in East Palestine, Ohio is a feature, not a bug, of unfettered, unregulated corporate power. Obama tried to regulate more hazardous material on trains, then ended up caving to railroad industry pressure. Union workers warned about faulty brakes and other safety. The union workers themselves on this boat ignored 2 signals in a row that said their axle was on fire. Stop it. There's video of it. There's video of them riding down the tracks with their axle on fire. Like, do these things need to be solved? Absolutely. Is it also an absolute expression of, what's right and wrong in the political, like, because the right's saying that this is because of, Pete Buttigieg and the Biden administration wanting to kill white people, so they crashed it in East Palestine, Ohio. Like, the fuck out of here. Governor DeWine on his conversation with President Biden about the train derailment. What I said to the president is, if we need additional help, we'll tell you, but the people who've been in here from the federal government are doing a very good job.
Governor, in your news conference yesterday, you said you had spoken to President Biden a few days earlier, and the president offered federal assistance, said don't hesitate to call. You said yesterday that you have not done so, that you don't feel like there's a need, that you have, I'll quote you here, if we were seeing a problem or anything like that, you would call, but you said you're not seeing it. Explain the rationale there. Why not get the federal government more involved in what is a significant site?
No, that's not what I said. What I said yesterday is that I told the president that the federal government was involved. We had used the Defense Department to model. Our National Guard was working directly with the Defense Department to model when the controlled emission was going to take place. How
the controlled emission, because burn and explosion don't sound good, even though that's what you have to do.
Far out that was going to do. The U.S. EPA has been on the scene from the very beginning. The transportation people are in there working to determine exactly the cause of this wreck. So, no, what I said to the president is if I need additional help, we'll tell you, but the people who have been in here from the federal government are doing a very good job.
Look at that. There you go. The Ohio governor, a Republican, saying, oh, hey, the federal government is there doing a good job. Now, again, if this is always the problem with these kind of things. Whether it's an airplane crash, like the Korean airliner that missed the runway in San Francisco years ago, or like any number of environmental disasters or circumstances or accidents or any of that kind of thing caused by either human error or a failure of mechanical equipment, or a failure of mechanical equipment caused by human error or the lack of oversight or regulation. Like, every time you hear somebody say, we're going to repeal regulations, this is what you should be thinking about. One of the reasons why the United States has as strong an economy as it does, and why it's the richest country in the world, and why those riches reach more people in their everyday lives, so much so that they take them largely for granted, is because of regulations, minimizing this kind of shit. And like right now in Russia, this is happening every 2 days, if not every day. In China, it happens all the time. You never hear about it. When they have these kind of industrial accidents, they shrug it off and move on. And again, if people will recall, there was an entire city that there was an earthquake, and most of the people in the city lived, except all the children. All the children were basically killed because they were all in school, and the guy who built the schools didn't use any rebar in the concrete in the schools. So they all pancaked and killed every kid in town. It's like a horror story that you'd be like an old children's book. It's fucking awful. That's what regulations are for. Is it a pain in the ass? Do you hate having to do things in triplicate sometimes? Yeah. But why do we have it in triplicate? Because we had it in duplicate, and some motherfuckers still slipped through, and a bunch of people died or got cancer or blah, blah, blah. So triplicate it is. Just simmer. That standard is part and parcel to how our lives work. And all the stuff, we take so much for granted in our everyday lives. It's like traffic, the lines between, you and oncoming traffic. First of all, you're in a trust game with all of America. The fact that anybody who says Americans are stupid and I don't trust anybody and we're all fucking idiots and blah, blah, blah all the time, and I think everybody's just evil, out for themselves, has given up in your knowledge. If you drove anywhere, you're full of shit, because you are driving opposite directions from somebody else, and the only thing between you is a painted line in the road. You've agreed on it, and over time, they went from no line to a line to different kinds of lines. A broken line sometimes, and a straight line. A double line. Oh, a double line that's broken on one side, but solid on the other, or vice versa. Or turn lanes in particular, white versus yellow. There's a reason we did this over time, because these regulations and these specifications make driving easier as it gets faster and more complicated. The same thing is true of all these systems. Trains have been lagging behind largely because they represented for a good long while, even though the majority of what we use trains for in this country is goods, essentially, fuel and chemicals and corn and livestock and all that kind of shit. That's the majority of what it's used for. Because we think of it in big cities as the subway or as a metro line, Republicans have hated that idea because they think it's some sort of collectivist, heading towards like nobody gets to own a car anymore and everybody's got to use the train and this is what they're trying. So they fight it and try to choke off the funding for it. And ultimately what happens? You end up with shitty gear running way past its prime. This is why the infrastructure bill and the Investment Act had funding for these kind of things. That's why you do it. Fucking hell. Oh, by the way, let's see. I'm scrolling through. I went automatically to click on that thing, and we'd already scrolled past it. This is Ohio's chairman. Look, this is Stu Peters. Stu Peters is a fucking right-wing nutcase. Yeah, the people's bullhorn. Hashtag died suddenly. This motherfucker, he's an anti-vaxxer. It's like all this shit. And he's saying, this is Ohio's Chernobyl. It is not Ohio's fucking Chernobyl. Will there be cleanup? Yeah. Are there dangers about it? Of course. Do you think any of these assholes think that anybody downwind from this shit is going to shut down their fucking city and it's just going to overgrow and nobody's going to be allowed in there without a fucking hazmat suit? Like, the fuck out of here. Living here, and we have to leave this area after 2 hours because I was so nauseous. Calls in the EPA. The agency said they are testing and monitoring, and they say it's safe. I'll be talking to Governor DeWine shortly as well. Yeah, she's right next to it. Yeah. Yes. No. The area is safe where the houses are, especially, by the way, the ones that are opposite way that the wind blew. Because that's how this shit works. Like, if you're on the other side of the tracks up a few miles or a couple blocks away and the wind was blowing that way, you're like, I would hose down the front of my house and I wouldn't eat the grass anytime soon. But you're not going to be affected the same way people downstream were, downwind were. And of course, if you're standing right next to it, and by the way, she goes 1 hour. I don't know when this was taken. Look, the whole purpose is, and this is like the problem I have with this. The primary problem I have with this is that life is gooey. Accidents are going to happen. Everybody takes for granted that there aren't toxic chemicals and all kinds of stuff on our highways, on the railroads, and those things, operate in your life behind the scenes all the fucking time. And you only notice when something like this happens. And it's going to happen because life is that way. The question is, does your government respond properly? Do they do everything that they can within the possibility of the realm of reality to remedy the situation? And if they don't, how can you move them in that direction by who you elect in the future and how your attitude changes towards whatever solution might be available, right? That's who are you in this? Because when you look at this, you look at any news story, what you're seeing is yourself reflected in it. What would I do in this situation? How is it being done differently than I would have done it? And the problem with this, is twofold. On the right, the idea is, since they hate government, the narrative, and they'll blame it on Biden. The idea is that anything the government does is bad. So if they're in there helping, it's really them covering it up. If they're not helping, it's because they wanted it to happen and it was a false flag or an attack. There is no, and if you have no argument where there's an upside in it, where it's all nihilistically bad, then then no one's having an actual conversation with this person. This person is selling something. If somebody came out and said, everything's doing fine, there's nothing to see here, and was waving their arms like the fucking mayor of Jawstown, they'd be full of shit too. The reality is that life in these circumstances is mitigatory, and you want to pay attention to the actual details. Because again, what is ultimately being sold here? Why is Stu Peters calling this Ohio's Chernobyl? Is it because he's stupid enough to think that this is the same thing as Chernobyl? Maybe. But is it more likely that he wants you to hate the government whenever it tries to solve anything? On a federal level, by the way. This Ohio's Chernobyl, if you'll notice, like that storyline when we've heard it around people is about the federal government's response, not DeWine, not J.D. Vance, not Jim Jordan, not the actual representatives of the state who, you know, arguably, I don't know, what's the equivalent of running off to Mexico like Ted Cruz did during the winter for Jim Jordan? Like go to Canada and watch a wrestling match, or half of it anyways. Let's see. Officials say it's safe for East Palestine, Ohio residents to return home, but more than a week after the toxic chemicals were released into the air following a train derailment, there have been numerous reports of respiratory issues, burning eyes, and thousands of dead fish. Okay, the dead fish are going to be around for a while because that's it. That these chemicals are going to interact with the environment and the water, and they're going to change into other things. They're going to turn into carbon monoxide and other stuff, but it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen immediately. And the level of hydrochloric acid that came from this explosion is going to wipe out every fucking fish, you know, in its wake for a little while. It's not going to make fish incapable of mating. It's not going to turn them into the like Cleveland Lake green sludge, tumorous, gross fish from the constant poisoning that was coming out of there. It's different. So here you go. Let's see what their report says on this.
Now to the aftermath of that train derailment in Ohio, where local residents are very reluctant to accept official advice that it's safe to return home. It has been 12 days since the accident in East Palestine, since this toxic this toxic plume of smoke into the air. Now people are complaining about health issues, and there are urgent questions about how their concerns were handled. Lilia Luciano has the story.
I would be
not a good hand gesture to start on. That was very Trump. Remember when Trump, you could tell he was bullshitting? I mean, he's always, but like when he knew he was bullshitting, or he thought you knew he was bullshitting, I think that's more aptly, he would do that hand lift. Well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Hand lift, yeah.
Alert and concerned, but I think I would probably be back in my house.
That was Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's answer.
You go in the cage. Cage goes in the house. Chemicals are in the house. Our chemicals. Farewell and adieu to you, fair Spanish ladies.
When he was asked whether he would move back home if he lived in East Palestine, Ohio. Though he did offer caveats.
I think that I would be drinking the bottled water.
There have been numerous reports in recent
I think you would too.
days of respiratory issues, burning eyes, and dead wildlife, including at least 3,500 confirmed dead fish.
Okay, first of all, I'm not eating fish out of most of these rivers in that area, period.
Killed by contamination.
We don't have any evidence of non-aquatic species suffering from the derailment. 5 of the train cars were...
Right, because the chemicals hit the water and affected oxygen levels and the acidity, and that killed them, whereas... and you might find, by the way, they might find in a little while, like some deer or some animals that eat the grass or leaves in the area, developing a level of chemical toxicity. The difference is that deer and other animals can fuck off. If you've watched Bambi, you know this. They can leave the area and find, leaves that smell okay to eat. Fish, unfortunately, are kind of stuck in the stream they're in. There's not a lot of places for them to go, especially if it fell evenly over the area.
were carrying vinyl chloride, a highly combustible chemical linked to a higher risk of some kinds of cancers. Crews conducted a control,
which is, by the way, used in every plastic product in your house practically. It's where PVC pipe gets its name, polyvinyl chloride.
Release of the carcinogen to reduce the risk of an explosion.
When you have combustion or burning, you create all sorts of different byproducts. It's important to understand to cast a wide net when you're testing, because you want to narrow out and rule out chemicals that could pose an acute health risk or linger around.
The governor and other officials lifted the town's evacuation order a week ago after health officials said air quality was back to acceptable levels and the city's main water supply, they said, was safe. 2 days after the evacuation order was lifted, the EPA said 3 additional hazardous chemicals were found on the derailed train cars.
This train apparently was not considered a high hazardous material train.
Yesterday, Governor DeWine revealed
it was like a upper respiratory problem toxicity train.
That since only 20 of the 150 cars contained hazardous materials, the company,
only
citing federal law, was not required to notify the state of Ohio that the train had toxic chemicals on board.
Frankly, if this is true, and I'm told it's true, this is absurd.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Lilia Luciano.
First of all, there's no fucking way as the governor of Ohio he doesn't know that trucks and trains full of chemicals like this pass through his fucking state on the highways and the railways all the fucking time. There's just no way. By the way, the super chats, by the way, Ted, thank you so much. And James Etling says, Sarah Silverman praised Rihanna for performing while pregnant and said the dancers in white represented the sperm that failed. Yeah, I thought a lot of them were late on the beat. Robert Brunswick, thank you so much. Love you too. And thanks. Love the Sparklers. Marge leads in the latest Gallup poll as she filibusters Biden, acting like Congress is her own Bergeau. She's a nightmare for McCarthy. Yeah, she's, thank you, Jovan. She's not going to have a national impact, but she'll fuck with them. Lisa Mia Moore, thank you so much. And thank you guys for subscribing, all the new subscribers. Bless you. Share the show, like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Okay, 1 minute away. Let me see if I can switch over to see if our, let's go to this thing. How do I have to do this? I have to go to here and see if our dear friend starts. There we go. See if, yeah. See if Philip can get in there. I'm gonna, hopefully he'll be able to reach out. I'm gonna check. Look at this. I'm a total professional. Looking on my phone like a grown man. There we go. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Yep. Okay. Ready when you are. And see if hopefully it pops up. I wrote it. Ready when you are. I wrote R-A-R-R like I'm a fucking pirate. Ready when you are. Me. Let's see. Hopefully he'll be able to get in. Let me know if. Oh, he says am on. Where you are? Because I don't see him in here. He says he's on. Why would that be? What would that be? Where would these settings? It says he's closed that, and I'll open it again. Oh, maybe it has to, I don't know. This would be weird if it has to actually transition over. Hold on, let me see if I can bring him up in here. And, nope. I don't see him. Hold on. Philip, I'm going to send you a new link, my friend. Hold on. I'm going to generate a whole new link, and I'm going to send it to him. Okay, wish me luck. Sue says waiting host. I see. Let's do this one, because I'm definitely on right. Sorry. Try this. Grumble. I'm working this out. By the way, the lovely folks at Streamlabs actually tweeted me back. They DM'd me back about this issue. So hopefully this is the sign that they actually, actually give a shit. Fingers crossed. Okay, we'll see if Philip gets in here. If not, we'll fall back to our regular video setup in the next couple minutes as I try to get him on as a guest. Thank you guys for your patience, your lerve. Let's see. Is there a way to rotate this through? It's very curious. It should something. Up. Look at that. There he is. Look at that.
Yeah, that seemed to work.
Yeah. Yes, it did. Hold on one second. Hooray. Give me 1 second.
Now, why am I...
You're all right. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to make sure, that we're not getting a monitor loop, and then I'll bring you in. I'm going to transition you, and then I'm going to turn this thing off, and then he's frozen a little bit, but oops, that's not good. Open this up. There he is. It says he's there.
No, I'm just trying to do something on my end.
Okay, cool. You're frozen for me, but we'll get you there. Don't worry. I can hear you, and that's the good part. All well? All good? Are you there?
There we go.
Okay.
That's better.
Excellent. Okay. Well, let's see if I can. I don't know if this will. There you go. Now you're moving. Now it's fluid again. Yeah. We may be dealing with stuff that is quite frankly just internet stuff, but at the very least, here you are. Hi.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
I can. I can hear you. I can see you. It's a frigging
Okay,
miracle.
now, hold on. Because I'm hearing you on my speaker, so hold on a second.
Okay. That might, we'll get, I don't know that I don't have a way to keep you from getting a loop back and driving you crazy. So sometimes that will require headphones. But either way, hi, glad you're here.
How about
Hello,
that?
chat room. All's well. I'm going to pull up the chat while we're talking.
How can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know why I'm hearing you off of my phone.
That's a good question because of the old version.
I'm hearing myself.
Oh, I see. Got you. You're hearing you back to you. Let me.
Yeah.
Let me figure that out. The reason is, let's see. Why would there be a loop back? That's a good question. Oh, Oh, I know. I can solve it. Hold on. I think I can figure it out. 1 second. It's because of, let's go to this. And what I'm going to do, give me 1 second. I'll fix this little bippity-boo. Let's try this. I'm going to turn this guy on and turn on a, there you go. Done. And then, hold on 1 second. Mute this guy for all practical purposes.
Now I don't hear you.
That's okay. We'll figure it out in a second. Don't worry. It's all good in the hood.
You can hear me though, yeah?
Yep. Hold on 1 second. So what if I do him? Then here we go. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Check. Check. No. Check. Check 1. Check 2.
There we go. Now I hear you.
Okay. Now I'm
also still hearing myself.
Okay. I'm trying to remedy that as we go. Piece by piece. Give me 1 second. It's all a new thing. It's all the new stuff. Okay, so the chat
Sure.
and the rounding table. Okay, so the voice chat will get the doing with the browser, doing with the thing. Want the box 1 doesn't go back to there. Now you should that should go away hopefully. And check.
Okay, can you? Yep. There we go. If you can
look at
hear
that.
me,
I can.
Okay.
Now, right.
Okay.
And then as far as the chat goes, I'm pretty sure they're like, you're allowed. I'll fix that part. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Let's just
Yeah, I
get
got you.
what we used to call in the what's called in the business mix minus.
Yes, exactly.
Or
It's always
IFB.
that's the tough part in this. Is there an echo, fellows, in the chat? You hear more than one source?
No.
Because the thing is, I have I have multiple ways that it's going, but it monitors but doesn't send out to them. But blah blah. Blah. It's annoying. Anyways, you're here and it's good and it's working and yay. So I'm going to just enjoy this.
Myself. You're hearing me fine. I'm hearing you okay.
Yeah.
The chat is. What is the chat saying?
No echo. All's good. Yay. So we're good. We're rock solid. Like this. If this keeps working, it'll be a miracle.
Huzzah.
But yeah. Hi. And this is the moment where
on Saturday as well.
Exactly. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I have my concerns about it being able to handle 2 or 3 people, but we'll get there. Yeah. I'm gonna fix a bunch of stuff tomorrow, hopefully that will remedy that kind of stuff. Everybody's like, Hal, save these settings. I did. They are in here now. That's now that they're set. Right. So wonderful. Hi. How you doing? So much to talk about.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. As always.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess a couple of things. One is the Prigozhin thing has ratcheted up in recent weeks to a huge level of this kind of like, we always knew there was a bit of a power play possible between Prigozhin and Putin. And for those that don't know, Prigozhin's the guy who runs the Wagner group. It's pronounced Wagner, not Wagner. It's named after Hitler's favorite composer. The dude has SS tattoos on his collarbones, or his second does. So we knew that there was going to be a bit of a wrestling match because people were like, okay, if Putin dies of cancer, this was last year or whatever he had, that there's a chance that Prigozhin will pick up where he left off and be even worse, be a bigger dictator than he is. Now there's serious differences between the Russian military. They've had hot fire between the two of them, between the Wagner group and the military guys. While they're taking shots from the Ukrainians, they're shooting at each other, which is amazing. And did I hear right that you're not supposed to mention them, kind of like you're not supposed to say war, you're supposed to say special military operation? That they got kind of broomed off of Russian media, discussions about the Wagner group and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, they're not. I think there's in between the Ministry of Defense and Wagner. And Putin is trying to kind of keep the whole thing trying to keep the whole thing together, but doing it the way he does it by basically pitting one another in machinations and
right.
I mean, it's not like he called in Shoigu and Prigozhin, sat them across the table and said, "No, you boys play nice."
Right.
That sort of thing isn't happening, but he is definitely trying to figure out how to use both of them. Mm-hmm. But Prigozhin is, his stock is still pretty high because the ruthlessness of him is appreciated by certain quarters of Russian society. The whole Bakhmut fiasco with him. Bakhmut is, it's very strange what the status of Bakhmut is right now. But more or less, it looks like Russia's. But then we said that 2 weeks ago. I don't, look, it's that entire stretch of the front line from Bakhmut down to Uvalde Uvalde is it's a very fluid situation. And is it the proper Russian offensive at this point? Is the spring offensive come early? There's a lot of talk about them softening things up. There's talk of planes being in Belarus. One thing is for sure is that we can expect something on or around the 24th.
Right.
So, there's rumors and there's wars and rumors of wars. I mean, they've pushed out aid workers from Bakhmut. The Ukrainians are no longer allowing aid workers to go in and try and rescue people because they've assumed that it's too, or they've assessed that it's too dangerous. So that's an indication as well of who owns the land. But
and also just the fact that because Russia doesn't, they're strafing it. They're basically just trying to lay waste to the area, kind of like they did with the iron plant earlier this, last year.
As in Mariupol,
Yeah, there was a question in the chat about Kosovo, Serbia, and Russia from Tamara, and the stuff going on there.
Yeah, I mean, the Serbs support Russia. They have a very well. I say they support Russia. Serbs are inclined to support Russia, but they're in a very tricky situation because there's also a desire to join the EU. There's a move within Serbia to join the EU, so they're kind of playing both sides of the fence. Kosovo is tricky, but what is really, of course, also being talked about is Moldova. The fact is that it looks like the Russians are trying to overthrow the Moldovan government. Not that they haven't tried in the past, not that they haven't actually been incredibly disruptive in Moldova since 1991. They've kept their government in disarray. They've kept the economy in disarray on purpose to destabilize them, because of course they see them as part of the greater Russian world. But there's a Russian military base there. So is that part of whatever is looming large over all of our heads here in Ukraine? We just don't know. But there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of concern. We all know that something's coming in the next 9 days now.
Right. Well, there's like some of the folks, some of the OSINT people, the open source intelligence stuff on Twitter, which you got to take with a giant cube of salt. This one person is writing, Poland is preparing to invade the territory of the Republic of Belarus within 10 days. This is evidenced by the suspension of 4 out of 6 border passes. I know, I don't think so either. Only one passenger and one for trucks near Brest operates to a limited extent.
Poland's not going to invade Belarus.
No, that's goofy. More than likely they are. Not
without major consultations in Mons and in Brussels and in DC.
Yeah, it's a NATO country.
As nutty as the Poles are not going to take a swipe at Belarus. Plus the fact they don't need to.
Right.
That strategically doesn't make any sense. Belarus is. There are reports of planes being, stockpiled in Belarus. That might be where Belarus's involvement in whatever's about to come might be. It might be that we get, bombing runs, regular bombing runs, coming out of Belarus. But even if the Belarusians did do that, it would take an awful lot for the Poles to cross the border into Belarus. That would be it, frankly, in a lot of ways. I mean, then it would be a Sarajevo assassination of the Grand Duke, Ferdinand, because the dominoes would start falling, because Russia would feel compelled to defend Belarus, so it would come in and defend of Belarus, and that would be an attack in the NATO member state, and then, of course, NATO would be obligated under the Article 5.
Yeah,
I do not. I would be very careful in reading the tea leaves in the next week and a half.
Right,
it's going to intensify as well. It's, oh my God, this is coming. This is what's happening now. This is the thing that's going to change everything. Or, oh my God, this is how this anniversary and this offensive are going to manifest themselves. And I'm not saying that it won't, but I just think speculating about it overtly. I mean, look, we see massing of armor and troops and that kind of stuff. We see firing of artillery. If you get to know the Russian military doctrine, it is always generally, loosen things up with artillery or some sort of indirect fire. That would presumably include their Air Force, but they're still very reluctant to employ their Air Force here because the air defense system is very good in Ukraine. So I would anticipate a good period of artillery, followed up by a lot of just conscripts being thrown at front lines, maybe in conjunction with airstrikes, as I say, coming out of Belarus into Kiev. But I would be very cautious about, as I say, reading tea leaves or trying to think too far in advance. When it comes, it'll come. The Ukrainians are preparing. The Ukrainians are very good. And then, one of the things that we don't talk about an awful lot, which I would discuss more, and so I'm going to take this opportunity to do it, is that, unfortunately for the Russians, they've invaded a country that doesn't like them very much.
Right.
And cell phones are ubiquitous. And there are lots of people who it can be very, very porous in Ukraine. There are people who are calling in to the intelligence and security services here and telling them every single step the Russians make. The Russians are not going to be able to sneak something up on the Ukrainians. They will know it's coming.
Right.
So that's why I say, in some ways, and this is kind of a sad part of being at war, is just you have to wait. You have to wait and see. And also, and this goes on the macro as well as the micro. When I've gone into combat before, for example, you mount up into whatever vehicle it is that's going to deliver you to the fight, whether that's a Black Hawk helicopter, whether that's a Bradley fighting vehicle. You all pile into these things, and then there's a period of transportation between your staging area to the front line where you dismount and you get into a fight. That's the worst part of combat for me, except for a couple of exceptions. 9 times out of 10, the worst part of combat is what your own imagination does to you. While you're in that vehicle, from the staging area to the front line, you're going, this could be it. This could be my last few minutes, and what's going to happen? How's it going to come? I don't know. I mean, what are we going into? What is it? Your mind works forward, and then once you get there, you've got a job to do. The adrenaline starts pumping.
Right.
You don't have time to let your imagination scare the bejesus out of you.
There's enough to worry about right in front of you. You can't worry past the next 10 feet.
That's right. That's why I say that's on the micro level. That's on the immediate level as a person in combat. But then on the macro level, I have faith in the armed forces of Ukraine. They have performed magnificently. They are well trained. They're dedicated. They're motivated. They will defend us to the best of their capabilities. And there's very little for us to do except for make what provisions you can, whether that's, you're concerned about, like my windows are all taped up, in the old English, you ever seen those, the old Battle of Britain kind of, every Air Force base has the
to make sure the glass doesn't blow in.
That glass doesn't shatter and you don't get lacerated.
Right.
I mean, it's flying glass, and I've still got water from the end of the fighting period last year when, we didn't know what was going to happen when they started striking our infrastructure. So thankfully that didn't happen too bad. So I've still got much of those provisions ready, but it's what the Russians are going to do what the Russians are going to do, and we're going to defend ourselves. And so all these, this all stems from the report of Poles are ready to launch some sort of attack into Belarus, or concerns about what's happening in Moldova. All of these things are worth consideration. Some of them more than others. But at the end of the day, you pay attention. But it's what's going to happen is going to happen. There's a little bit of fatalism in war where you just kind of go, we'll roll with it when it comes.
Well, that's because it's life at its messiest. It's controlled chaos, and that's just that. I mean, that's that's what they mean when they say war is hell. It is controlled chaos. It is in certain circles on the Putin side of this, it's intoxicating enough to think it gives you worth on its face. It's not what the Ukrainians are doing defending themselves or even what everybody else is doing backing them up. The instigation of war like this is about your presence in the world for Putin and for, what he believes Russia is about at this current time. Same shit that sent him into Chechnya, same shit that sent them into Georgia. They believe it's part of their nature. And so you think you're, I think, intoxicated by the idea that you think you can control this chaos more than you can. And everybody else who has to defend against it is just mixing, it has the same circumstance, but not in a, in a proactive sense, but in a reactive sense, in that, okay, chaos is being thrown our way. We have to find some way to match and meet it and get some handle on it. And no matter what you do, there's always going to be variables. That's what makes it as awful as it is. And is that constant feeling, especially amongst the populace, because you guys have been under air raid sirens, like across the country over the last. Yeah. Oh, did I lose you? There you go.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think I lost your audio.
I hear me through you, so curiously enough, I haven't touched anything. I haven't changed anything. Promise. It's funny that I can hear him through his phone. Can you guys hear me through his phone? I hear me through his phone. Can you hear me, Phil? Yeah. Just curious. I love goblins. Hold on, we'll see if he has. Yeah, could be better. I agree. Hold on. Could just be the nature of something or other. Hold on.
You're really choppy, and I'm going over to the browser.
Hold on. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let's see. I'll pop that up. See if this. Let me see if I can make this happen. Hold on. I'm going to try and do. Give me 1 second. I'm going to add you in here. It might take me a moment to mess around, but I'll see what I can do. Adding a source. Let's go to here. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to pop this in there. And then I'm going to take this one, because you're only on there. And I'm going to put you in let's see. Unassigned. Hold on. Cancel. There we go. I'm going to pop you in there again. Okay, I brought you back up. There you go. Hopefully that.
Can you hear me?
Yep. You sound great.
Okay, the browser seems better temporarily, but the app was working fine for quite some time as well. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's squirrely. We'll figure it out. But you look great, and okay. I can hear you, and you're good, and the delay doesn't seem too bad. So back where we were. No. But let's see. And primarily,
about kind of like anticipating whatever's going to come
right
during this attack, and it's going to be again. I know that the Ukrainian Defense Forces are being very proactive. They're not just sitting around. They know this is coming, and so I put my faith in them, and I pay attention as best I can, but I don't jump at every rumor of this, that, or the other.
I think that's wise. In general, there's a couple things I do want to talk about. One is besides the fact that apparently Putin needs 6 guys to go to the bathroom. I don't know if you saw that one. There's video around of he has 6 guys follow him into the bathroom, into the men's room, basically to like. And then he's traveling by train. Tell everybody about that.
He does it, and his own train tracks as well. Apparently, he doesn't travel on anybody. He doesn't travel on industrial or commercial train tracks. He has his own train line that's been built for him, and he won't fly anymore. Apparently, all he does is travel by train. Around. I mean, the man is paranoid.
Yeah. I would be too. Wouldn't you be?
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, right?
Exactly. Of course they are.
I'm sure people who want to take him out. Not only beyond his borders, but I'm betting there are a fair few within his borders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, there, in terms of what, that's probably the most savvy thing Putin is doing right now. The most aware, the most obvious logical awareness that he has is that it's very possible that he might be snuffed by his own people. Now, he might be overreacting in that paranoia, which is choking off his ability to actually have a real read of what's going on the battlefield. And so he seems behind the 8 ball on a bunch of things, confused about what actually happened or is what is actually happening, where the rest of us are aware of it, but everybody around him has to be a yes man for fear that he's going to push the shark button and they're going to fall in like they work for Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
But he's not wrong that they want to dust him off.
We've heard for years that he uses body doubles. We've heard all these kind of more crazy things about the shit briefcase.
Yes, where they capture his poop
where he doesn't. He captures his scat, and they take to Moscow when he's traveling because he's definitely afraid that somebody's going to analyze his poop. And, learn what diseases he has.
Yeah, and see it. Well, it's the closest you can get to his brain these days.
Real. It would be
right.
Yeah, it would be humorous, except for the fact that he's in the process of killing, thousands of people.
Exactly. But again, this is the same kind of paranoia you saw near the end with Hitler. I mean, famously, that's the one people go back to. Now, a lot of people get in that situation when the pressure gets really high and their own paranoia creates this kind of swirling circle around them that it becomes inescapable after a while. The question is just a matter of when, not if, this ultimately breaks him. Because
I mean, I've seen a lot of talk recently. As we go into this anniversary, there's all this talk, and we just had Ramstein 2, or not Ramstein 2. There's a second Ramstein meeting, but I think it's the 9th or 10th meeting of the Ukrainian action group. So Austin was over here, and they pledged more weaponry, and there's been talk of new rounds of sanctions, and so there's a lot I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kind of feel like we're at the calm before the storm,
right?
But this is going to be a very intense year. This, in many ways, is going to be a make or break year, and hopefully it will be the last year of the war. But even if it isn't the last war of the year, this is going to be, aside from the initial invasion force, I suspect this year of fighting is going to be definitive. One way, hopefully it's definitive in that it draws it to a close. But even if it isn't drawn to a close, it will be a definitive year because it will much more gauge where this war, if it does go into a multi-year war, more than a double-year war, because everybody's spooking out about. Well, anyway, we'll get into that in a little bit. But this year of fighting will kind of judge how this war will ultimately come to an end, but how the war will come. Somebody's asking me, how's the morale among the citizenry? I mean, everybody's tired, but we're not. We can't give up. You cannot give up to the Russians. So they're still very much determined. But anyhow, so this year, as I say, I think this year will be quite definitive. And then I was going to go down the road talking about artillery. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, let me, before we get to that, I want to talk about this idea of it being a multi-year war, though, as well, because I do not believe genuinely that is possible, considering Russia's current situation. So some people may know that there was a price cap put on Russian oil last November, whatever, and everybody had till the end of the year to get out. And we knew that a lot of European countries were weaning themselves off of Russian natural gas over the course of last year with a December 31st cap day. So at each of those points, the point where the the oil cap came on, the end of the date when you could finally get off of getting that without getting in trouble with possible sanctions. And then there was another date, which was, I think, February 5th, when processed gas, like processed oil, for all the things that are made from it, there was also a sanction put on that on February 5th. And so a lot of the conversations about, are the sanctions hurting or helping Russia? Are they doing better or worse or whatever? Up until that point was only measured without factoring in the biggest export and almost the entire purpose of the country materially, which is the export of oil, gas, and derivative products. Since the 5th, and just counting the stuff that happened after the 31st, the deficit in China, if I'm going to get this right, went up to 1.8 trillion rubles, which is $25 billion. It is 14 times what it was last January, right before they did this. And it was already normally rough post-COVID. They were spending more money than they were taking in, like a lot of countries. But it is 14 times higher this January than a year ago. And it's not because of, like in the West or something where, or even in Sri Lanka, where you have a situation where like tourism and stuff took a shit because of COVID, and it's taken a long time to get back to where there's enough workers to fill up the hotels and stuff so that tourism can go. This is the end of this, of them being to outsource these material goods to other people. They cut production. They said that they're, in response to the sanctions, they were going to cut production by 500,000 barrels starting, I want to say, the beginning of March. And that is, by the way, 0.5% of world production. So before everybody goes, oh my God, the daily, like it's not a lot. It's a lot, I suppose, materially, but if they refuse to take that oil from the pumps, they have to shut the pumps down. If they shut the pumps down, then it backs up. Then it's hard to get them restarted, especially where they get their oil from. So there's all kinds of problems they run into when they shut this shit down at all. If they don't produce at top capacity all the time, they're playing with fire. And the thing about their deficit numbers, which the West has been talking about for a while, our news has been talking about for a while, the UK and the Guardian have been talking about, but Russia's been saying it's bullshit, we're fine, none of this is true. The new figures on that deficit come from the Ministry of Finance of Russia. That they are admitting, and God knows if they're admitting that they've got a $25 billion deficit, because they only built up a $144 million war chest. January alone cratered their deficit. That was just January. I mean, they've got 5 months before, if they haven't already blown through what they have already, they've got maximum till, I don't know, May, beginning of May, before they would be just completely out of money and no credit from any major country in the world for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Military spending is up 59%. Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now it's interesting you bring that up. Okay, so here's what I wanted to talk, because I've seen a lot of talk in Western media, and I see in the chat as well, people concerned about this whole narrative that's building in the West about where the Ukrainians are running out of artillery shells because we have not shifted our industries to a war footing. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Russians have switched their economies to a war footing. As anemic as their economy is now and is only going to worsen in coming months, mm-hmm. they are still going to prioritize production, weapons production, and so they have far more artillery shells. It is being posited than the West does, and especially since Ukraine is. Because the tactic of the Russians is to send in waves of conscript. Disgustingly, the Ukrainians are burning out their barrels and firing. Well, not literally, but they're going through so many munitions because that's how you deal with waves and waves of conscripts. Is you blast the hell out of them with artillery. So they've been going through more artillery and that in conjunction with the West not transitioning to a war footing with its production of shells, and then the argument in the West and press being that Russia continues to produce shells. All of this seems generally to be true, but having said that, and I have not been up to the front since I came back from Bakhmut. Six weeks ago or now. So, they have shells. They have. It's not it's not like they're down to it's their last box and oh no, what's going to happen? They are weeks, if not a couple of months out from running out of shells.
Right.
They're fine. They're fine. And if it gets to the point where they need to find more more artillery shells, they'll find them. They'll find them. I am not worried about the artillery capacity of the Ukrainians very much, because also in addition to that, Alan, we've talked about this in the past. And this is me talking to friends. I'm not basing this on analytics. I'm basing this on talking to other journalists who've been, recently returned from the front, or I'm talking to military experts who are on the ground here in Kiev. Especially since I think that the artillery phase is going to end, and it's not going to end completely. There will always be a role for artillery. Maneuver is about to become the name of the game. Yeah. The Ukrainians are going to try and grab back as much ground as they can, as quickly as they can, for a variety of reasons, not least of which is the fact that they want to get their land back, but also they have to show some success. Mm-hmm. When they get, I mean, I don't know if you saw the Bradleys arriving or being stockpiled in. I believe there was a base in Germany where they were being stockpiled. Yeah, aerial footage of the sheer number of Bradley fighting vehicles that are going to be here imminently. Yep, is going to be a big deal. It's a really we put hence the panic by the tankies. Yes, hence the panic by the tankies, and hence why the Russians are launching their this much vaunted offensive. Perhaps earlier than they should. The 1 year anniversary is one thing, but they could have bombed the heck out of us, or sent over waves of planes, or they could have done it a number of ways to not only just remind us, hey, it's been 1 year, but actually do some real damage without sending their conscripts, because when the conscripts are gone, that's it.
Yeah, they're gone. Right.
There's short of violating, short of using prohibited weapons. They've got nothing to fall back on after they've gone through their hundreds of thousands. If they call up, it would be in essence a fourth mobilization. Boy, I don't know. I mean, the Russians are good at putting up with stuff and suffering through things, but I don't know if they're ready for a fourth mobilization.
Agreed. By the way, if Russia, I may, there is new reporting that from John Bolton saying that Trump that apparently the plan was in a second Trump presidency, in his second term, he was going to that Putin was effectively waiting for him to withdraw from NATO. The idea was that the fix was in from the beginning. The whole idea was to develop this kind of anti-NATO, feeling at home, like and treat it like any other trade deal. Like, let's get the fuck out. Like NATO and NAFTA are the same thing, so we just hate everything else and turn it into kind of like, let's build a wall and focus on isolationism so that they can fill in the gaps, essentially. And that Trump was a missile headed to destroy NATO from the beginning, basically expecting, by the way, that when he said, if you guys don't pony up, we're not going to defend you, which, by the way, he wouldn't have the right or the ability to do, as much as he might have thought so. He would have just been slow on the roll, which would have given Putin an edge that he did not have early in this conflict. But the idea was that he was gonna pull us out of NATO in his second term. That would be the big push. So originally I had thought that that Putin was effectively planning on in January when Trump gets reelected. That's when the Ukraine attack will happen right away. And Putin would basically count on Trump to ride the brakes on NATO's response. And then ultimately, I guess you're here. You have an issue. Just making sure. Anyways, because Biden won, he had to readjust. And so instead of going in that January, he had to wait till the next January, because it is about timing. It is about the weather. It is about the time of year that you pull this shit off. But Bolton is saying, I don't know if it was in his book or is in a new, this is even from he said this as early as March of last year. Bolton was saying that was the deal. Putin was going to count on him to get the U.S. out of NATO, say you're on your own, Europe.
Where did he say it?
This is in an interview in the Insider. Yeah, Putin was waiting for Trump to withdraw the United States from NATO in his second term. Yeah. So, but the idea is that that's his whole purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, see, I. By the way, your audio broke up for a chunk of that. It's same sort of digitization kind of sound.
Okay.
That tinny kind of like reverb. So you seem back now.
Okay. All right. We may have to move to Skype after all this is over. We'll see.
But yeah, I mean, oh boy. Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Start using Zoom.
Right.
Look, I mean, I don't talk about this that often because the people really have so much invested in the whole 2016 issue. But I still contend that was Putin. Putin gave us Trump. Trump knew it. At the very least, he knew it, or he was complicit in it, and the Mueller report and all the rest of it. But the thing that really kills me is that the Rio meeting, when no U.S. State Department official, no translator, no nothing, no recording, this has been Putin's desire for years has been to divide the transatlantic alliance. He wants to. It's in Alexander Dugin's book. Dugin, who is this crazy nutter, he's an absolute nutbag. One of his, this is what Russia should do. His edict was, we need to split the Anglo-Saxon world off from continental Europe, and then we can divide and conquer. We'll take continental Europe, and then the Americans and the British can, will be cut off. Then we can slice them apart as well, and all the rest of it. It's crazy talk. All of it's crazy talk. It's still, it's all like it's Risk. You're playing Risk.
Right.
The world's moved on from that in so many different ways. Not totally, but in so many different ways. And I mean, Trump was doing it. Look, the man's a traitor. The man is a Russian asset. He's a Russian asset. The Russians have, and I'm going to pull out some of my oldies but goodies, is, we in our hubris at the end of the Cold War thought that inherently our wonderful system of democracy and capitalism would go streaming eastward.
And rule of law.
Really happen. And rule of law.
Right.
All the things, liberal democracy, all the tenets of liberal democracy, the rule of law, a free and fair election, a free press, all of that stuff, because inherently it's good, it's better, right? Sure it is. What happened was that instead of in our hubris thinking that that kind of mentality would flood east, what happened was the corruption and the criminality and the brutality and the autocracy of the fallen Soviet Union, in particular Russia, just eased to, just kind of came westward, kind of eased westerly. We see corruption everywhere as a result of it. We've seen corruption in France, Britain. I argue the Brexit referendum was influenced by the GRU. We see it in Germany with their gas, extortionism. We've seen in Italy with them. I mean, did you see Berlusconi's stuff recently? It was disgusting, but of course the corruption was there.
Ooh, shit. Back up. Hi, sorry. We got bumped off for a second. It was terrible. It's terrifying, but we're back and we're fine. There we go. And I'll pop him up on stream, and you should be all right. And go to here. Hopefully that'll do it. Yeah, there he is. Sorry. Yep, just a software like piss off. Just dropped me for a second, but I got back on here quickly. We're good. You can hear me, okay?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay,
and now
fire
I'm
away.
hearing myself again, though. I'm back on this app on.
Oh, I see. You flipped over to the other
app.
Yeah,
I'm
it wasn't.
the-
That wasn't. In your end, anyways. It. Yeah, this still it was saved on here, I believe. Let me make sure that yes. Oh, I see. Wait 1 second. Very well, maybe. I see. This is why. Let's go back to here.
There we go.
Okay, is that better? Yeah. Hold on. Can you hear me okay? Let's see, 1 second. Give me a second. I have to I save these things so that they
Nope, not hearing you.
That's okay. 1 second. Let's just do this then. I know what I can do. Okay, we'll do this real quick, and then let's see, VOD goes to this, doesn't hear music, should hear this, shouldn't hear this back. Okay, now, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can he hear me? Can you hear me? Doing what I can. Give me 1 second. Bring this up. Oh, it's got to be on the right thing. Sorry. Flipping some stuff around. VOD track. Check. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are.
Cool. And do you
I
hear
hear you.
yourself?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Nope, and it's not coming back at me. It's not coming back at me. So,
excellent.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Tricky
So
though.
you were saying hi.
It's little tricky to kind of bounce between the two of them. Do you want to schedule something on? I can't do tomorrow, Thursday, but maybe on or Friday, or maybe Saturday before the show.
Yeah, it's very possible. Yes,
troubleshoot some stuff.
Yes, I'll make a run at it. I think I have a friend coming on to. He's here wherever tomorrow, and we'll see if that works, and then we'll do another one, and I will find a solution to this. Fear not. It may just ultimately be that it's settings bouncing back and there's something circle happening,
we'll get there.
Which is possible. We'll get there. But anyways, please continue because there was we've got about 10 minutes left.
On my end, your audio kind of gets. Yeah, I see it. I said it before. We are only waking up to the threat that Russia poses.
Right.
We thought everything was all well and good at the end of the Cold War. We screwed that up. We sent in a bunch of carpetbaggers. We didn't.
Yes.
We didn't do a Marshall Plan in the post-Soviet space, and this is all now coming to. This is the culmination of what kind of once we screwed up the post-Cold War period. It was almost. I don't want to say inevitable, but there was a direct line between that to here.
Mm-hmm.
So this war is hugely so important. It's the most significant historic war I'm ever going to cover in my life because it's one way or the other. There's either going to be a new Russia or there's going to be a new Europe.
Or no Russia.
As our most important trading partner.
Right.
Or no Russia. Well, that falls under the umbrella of the new Russia.
Right. That's right.
But that's really where it's as much as I don't want to freak people out, and I like to be somebody who fans the flames of kind of like, but I will be passionate about how important this war is, and it is a binary equation.
Right.
As I said, there will either be a new Europe or a new Russia. And we, as partners with Europe and as believers in the world order that was established in the post-Second World War, and in fellow travelers when it comes to the idea of liberal democracy, as flawed as it is, being the best way to go, it's either that or it's an autocracy dominated by Moscow. It really is. I'm not being hyperbolic. I don't believe I am. I really feel that this is an either or, as I say, binary situation, and it is part and parcel because we screwed up so bad in the post-Soviet era after the Cold War. This is not. It didn't just arise because there's a spat between Ukraine and Russia. This has been a long time, and also we accommodated Putin. We accommodated Putin for years because we didn't know what to do with him. And we were like, well, at least there are areas where we think we can work with him. But I mean, like Bill Browder, who brought up the Magnitsky Act when his lawyer was tortured and killed in prison back in that was early. That was like 2003, 2006, something like that when Magnitsky was killed. I'd have to double check that, but very early in the Putin era.
Right.
He's been screaming for years that, we cannot treat this guy with kid gloves, nor can we accommodate his behavior because it's expedient for us.
Right.
And you hear that from the dissidents. You heard that from Navalny.
Right.
You heard that from Nemtsov. Rest his soul.
So there was we
heard that from Saakashvili, who is dying in prison as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
We should never have accommodated Putin, and we should never have thought that we could let him, take this massive country, this powerful country, down a road that was inevitably going to lead to conflict with somebody. So this is a long time coming, and it is. It's going to fall on one or the other, that binary equation of where do we go from here. So anyhow.
So one of the things that I think Camille Ghalib was writing about, Chubai,